Donaldson.
And I'm Cindy Walter. Welcome to Quilt Central, where we celebrate quilting and everyday living. Our theme today is painting. Not only will we learn how to hand paint our own fabrics, but we will also paint with fabric and thread.
So in other words, we are going to learn thread painting, fabric painting, and snippets. And for all you pet lovers, we have a special project.
So stay tuned.
Quilt Central is made possible in part by Janome America. Janome, because you simply love to sew. American Quilters Society, dedicated to promoting today's quilter. Sulky of America, makers of decorative threads, stabilizers, and books. Olfa, the original rotary cutting system. A1 Quilting Machines, precision quilting machines. A1. American Professional Quilting Systems, APQS, offers a full line of hand-guided quilting machines. June Taylor Company. Krause Publication. The Warm Company. Additional funding was provided by these companies that care about quilting. Welcome to Quilt Central, celebrating quilting and everyday living, with your hosts, Janie Donaldson and Cindy Walter.
Our theme today is painting, and Cindy has some special techniques to show us.
Well, I'm going to show you how to paint a base for a landscape type of a quilt. Perhaps you could use that under an applique quilt or a Snipppet quilt or any of your type of quilts where you want a landscape.
Oh, that'd be fun.
And there's a couple styles. The first one is I'm going to paint the base blue, and then we're going to paint in white clouds. But let me tell you what I'm using. You can use any fabric. This is a nice quality Pima cotton, but all cottons work as long as they're PFD'd.
Prepared for dye.
Right, and a lot of our cottons, our white cottons, are that by accident because there's no extra chemicals in them. Then I need to have my paints for fabrics, and I have some transparent paints that are loose and flowable. But since this is for wall hangings, we can get away with using opaque paints that are dense and some metallic paints that have...
They need to be for
fabrics. Right, and you don't want to use them too often in quilts because they're a little stiff, a little tiny bit, but this is a wall hanging, so we can deck it up with all of these things.
All right.
I have to mention too, use paints for fabrics. Don't use craft paints because they won't stay. So the first step for this type of landscape, I'm going to start with my blue base, and I think I'll start with a different color. This is an opaque paint that's a little bit thicker, so I'm going to pour it in and slightly dilute it so I have a nice consistency. Most of your paints you can dilute 25%, and you don't want to dilute them until you're ready to use them that day because they can go bad or spoil with that water added in them. And I'm going to give that a good stir up. Dilute it 25 or even more, but not too much. And you can apply it simply like this.
I like the little sponge brushes. They hold a lot.
They hold a lot, and they're just, you know, you can have a couple dozen of them and not have to keep washing your brush because you can have brushes. I'm going to take a different color and just start blending this in like this and work up my color. And I'm not going to paint the whole thing, but I do want to get enough to show you the idea. Look at that's already kind of looks like a nighttime sky with the different colors in there, or a stormy sky. When this dries, paints dry, the more diluted they are, the lighter they dry. So when it dries, it'll be quite a bit lighter. Then I'm going to take in a little stencil brush or a softer little brush, and this is the fun part for this type of sky. I'm going to paint in my clouds.
Oh, I see. And it just kind of blends in too, doesn't
Yes,
it?
because it's all wet. And look at that beautiful cloud. It was that easy to paint the cloud just with my stencil brush, just going like that. And so you can take and, you know, rub it in more, and that to me that's just a beautiful,
I like it when you soften it a little.
beautiful cloud, just like that. And I can make a stormy sky or whatever I want. But now, since this is for a landscape, I need a horizon, and I'm going to put the water in, and I would make dark blue water, and then I could come in and make my applique boat scene or whatever I want to use it. So let me show you my other type of sky, which is the type I use most often. I love to make this type. I start with a white base of an opaque or a transparent, but I've already have this diluted down. And I'm going to get quite a bit of white on here. And it looks silly to start with, I can tell, but what this white will do is it will allow us to blend colors in with all the darker colors.
Kind of lets it flow out so you kind of dampen the fabric.
That's
with
right.
it.
And if I add a little bit of blue to my white, just a tiny dab, I'm coming in already with a lighter blue like this.
A little marbled.
Yes, and I'm not going to work all the way to the edge, but work to the edge so you're not going to waste your fabric. And already in there I have too much color, so I'm going to take my sponge, a clean sponge, and dampen this out. And this can be my sky, starting my sky. Now, we got to remember color theory. We don't want to mix too many colors together.
Just end up with mud.
That's right. And I'm going to take the same blue down to the bottom, and you put your gloves on, and I'm going to have you put our sky color in there. And keep this nice and blend. So you can pick any of your colors and start putting in a sunset up in the sky.
You put a little yellow in?
Yeah, that'd be pretty in the white. And remember, color theory, yellow with blue makes green, so you have to avoid the blue, and that's why I put the white in there. And if you want to blend it, here's a blender. And
You can use
perfect. Yeah, that's perfect. And I'll give you another brush for your other color.
If I can blend it a little, it'll look a little softer.
Yeah,
like
blending
this.
is nice. To have a lot of these sponges help.
Ooh, I like that. How about pink? You know I love pink.
Yeah, pink's pretty. That's great.
You can put a little in the...
And you have to put a little of the color and the reflection in the water too when you're done, because we're going to make, ooh, that's very pretty.
And just put a little down here.
Sure, that's great.
As much or?
It's up to you. Not too much. So there we go, and you can blend it more, but you're pretty much
Yeah,
finished.
It's just like if we blend it a little, it's like more sunsetty.
Now,
Ooh, I like that.
this was a landscape I made for a Snipppet project in the same exact style. Put my white down and then my Pennywinkle with a little gold. Just blended it together, and you can make it with different colors. And here we have it more in that teal type
With
color.
a touch of pink.
Yeah, so let me show you a little Snipppet project with this one base that I have.
Remove
Yeah,
this
you can
whole-
take that for me.
When we just start all of this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect. And so here I have that base, and I've started my snippets. And before I can actually cut or make snippets, I have to show you how to use the fusible web. Always follow the package direction on any type of web. And on this one, I pull off the paper, just set my fabrics on it that I want to fuse, and trim away the web. And be sure to trim on all four sides so that you have a clean piece and clean web. This is trash here. Thank you. And I am actually fused now. I'm actually ready to use this piece. Bend the paper down and pull off the fabric, and the web is
all
already
stuck
adhered.
on there.
So I have a few pieces ready to go. And to start my landscape, I'm going to add some trees in the background. And I've got them started, and I just want to show you how quick and easy it is to cut a few snippets. It's truly just this fast and just this easy to cut your snippets. And I would start with the trees back here. Remember, this was our sky, and that's our water. And once my trees in the background are filled in, the next step is to put in buildings or whatever you want. This is going to be a dock scene.
Oh,
and I have
how
another
beautiful.
trick to teach you, or to teach everyone. I painted this fabric with the metallic silver paint.
It's a little stiffer.
It's stiffer, but it's perfect because it's shiny. And one advantage of that is that it's opaque, so it won't shadow through. So now I can use my silver or white fabric to add texture in here. And here I have buildings, and I can cut little teeny tiny windows or doors or anything I want to decorate my buildings. And just do it freely, just play. Don't even make it perfect. If it's not square, it's better. That's what Snippets is all about. The next step is to add some little boats, and I'll show you how easy cutting a boat would be. I want a free form here. So I simply, and I usually pull the back lining paper off before you cut snippets. And of course I wouldn't cut snippets with my gloves on. Actually, it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to hold everything with your gloves on. And here I have a free-forming boat, and I would just make them small as the boats are far away, bigger as they get closer. And here's my ending project. I use the opaque white.
Cindy, that
I
is
use
nice.
this opaque white to put all these little details in. And let's take a look at the final project.
Thank you for showing me these techniques. But I've got to go now. I'm going to do a quilting segment with Dian Keepers.
Well, I hope all of you enjoyed Snippets, and it's fun and easy and a great way to paint on your quilts.
Today I have a special long arm expert with me, Dian Keepers.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm thrilled to share my work with you.
I want to tell you why Dian is so special. She combines paints with the long arm work. And the first time I saw it, I just had to get up close and take a look. It had a soft blush about the quilting, and I couldn't quite tell what it was that made it different, but it was the paint.
Yes. The process that I use in the painting keeps it nice and soft and supple. And then I put my thread to it after I've painted and just embellish it. And what I like about that is the fact that I don't have to put a lot of thread to get the color. And so many of the quilters are using an awful lot of thread and distorting their projects. And so I think this is a good way to eliminate that.
All right, this is a Mardi Gras piece. Let's get the glasses and the Mardi Gras beads and coins and lots of color to it. But still, it's that soft baby look. I love that.
I was able to put the beads on with a long arm machine by taking my foot off and using the one stitch button and just added it on. So that was a lot of fun.
That is neat. This one?
This is a modified applique pattern, and you can see that we put the curlicues in, but we found on this particular project if we would actually do the back landscaping first and then add your curlicues over the top, it will give you a nicer effect.
Oh, so you do the paint first, then the thread.
Paint first and then the thread. This little project,
Little things.
yes, I just wrapped the thread around my finger and then sewed it on to the top and
Cut it
then
off.
cut it open.
Really unique. I love the pieces. Now show us a little how you do this.
Okay, what we do is we take our pattern piece, and I like to use cotton sateen thread because it is, or material, because it is just so shiny and luxurious. And so we just trace our pattern on, as you can see on this particular.
Right through from your master pattern.
Correct.
Uh-huh.
And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to lay it on a piece of cardboard so it can absorb the water, and we're going to spritz the area that we want to paint.
And that will make the paint bleed out.
Correct. And then we've got a little bit of paint here. We'll just show you just a tiny bit. And I call this the kindergarten painting because we want it to bleed out of the lines, and you don't need to know strokes and this type of thing. I think we might have a little bit of problem with the lights and drying this too
dries
fast.
quick?
So we won't spend any more time on that. But that's, you just saw how I dabbed it. It's very simple and easy to do. Now,
Here's the next step. This
This
one you
is-
did before.
right, and this is what it would look like once you got it all painted. It really looks like a mess, and again, I call it kindergarten painting.
It's beautiful. I love it.
Now, I'm going to show you just a little bit on quilting on this particular one.
You started a little bit in here.
Yes, and I like to use variegated threads. I think that
Shading is nice.
exactly, and you just quilt enough that you've covered the line, and then if you put too much thread on it, it's just too much. So we just try to follow the line the best we can.
So you can take your time and fill in a little. I see how that variegated thread helps make it more
does.
realistic.
It does. And one of the nice things is if you miss your line and you've got all the thread that you want on it, then you can fill it in with your gel pen. And the
that's
gel
an
pens are
idea.
permanent, so, and let's say I've got a little bit more paint over here, but there really wasn't supposed to be a flower.
They're so unique because if you're not exactly in the lines, it's kind of a blur or blush. It has that soft edge look, so it doesn't really matter. Okay.
The finished product.
Oh, that's so beautiful with the dragonfly and everything. That's popular, the dragonfly.
It is. It is. And you could see if I had wanted to, I could have filled in more leaves, even though they weren't in the pattern, and filled the areas up that bled out.
So you get it all colored up, and then you do the background.
Yes, do the
grass.
landscaping. And I find that there's a lot of different backgrounds that you can use for this. It just works out beautifully.
It's just endless. It's just
It
your
is.
imagination.
It is.
That
And
is just gorgeous.
This one, if you bring that one back, to show you the difference between having the paint and having it just thread is
Is
just,
it absolutely identical except for the paint.
that's right.
Have you tried one on a garment? This
Yes,
one too?
yes, this one is
Oh
painted.
yeah, that one is painted.
And then I embellished it with the beads.
I think that would be just absolutely out of sight to do that in garments. I love to have really one-of-a-kind pieces, and I think that would be really special.
Yes.
Well, I'm going to try that. Are you teaching classes so I can take
Oh,
one?
I sure do.
Okay. Well, I thank you so much for showing us your technique. I've not seen it anywhere else, and I hope you'll come back and see us again and show us something else next time.
All right, I'd love to. Thank you.
Our next guest is going to show us how to make a tapestry vest. Join me in welcoming Nancy Knaus. Welcome, Nancy.
Well, hi, Cindy. It's a pleasure to be here to show you What I first did was I took my favorite vest, cut it apart to get my pattern.
Okay.
And once I did that, I will take it out. I will mark my entire fabric with a chalk. I like chalk because it will show up a lot better on the fabric that you're using. And then I will just go ahead and just outline all the way around my vest.
Okay. I noticed your base fabric is a flannel, but it doesn't probably matter. You can use a cotton or flannel or anything you want down here, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. I like using flannel because it's like cotton batting. It just, everything will stick
it
to and
holds
it
it
doesn't
to it,
slide
right,
around
right.
on you.
What's our next step then?
Well, and then I will pick out a tapestry material. On this tapestry, I have picked out little cats because, of course, quilters, those are one of our favorite pets.
And everyone knows my cat. Her name is Kitty Walter. That's her name.
Well, what I did was I fussy cut around the cats. And then once I did that, I put it on just a fusible bond.
Okay.
You peel that off, and then you just set it in place. Usually I like to find one that has a mirror image, so that way I will have, one here, and then I can have one that can go the other
Both
direction.
sides of the vest.
Right. Well, this doesn't have it, so I will go ahead and center this, and then I will probably take my cats and bring them up the back. And then I will take some of the other fussy cuts of the smaller kitties, and then put them in here and arrange them on the design,
Okay.
and arrange them on that. Now, once I have done that, I will then iron it down in place.
Oh, interesting.
So then I will just go ahead and iron, take it, and then follow the directions, the manufacturer's directions, and then just press it down in place. Now, once I have done that, then that's where the thread art comes in. What I will do is I will go through my collection of threads, and then I will find one that will stand out the best or bring out the design and the material that I'm using. Once I do that, I will take my sewing machine in, and then right in here I have a lot of blue. I've got blue thread in my machine, so then all I would do is go in there and then just follow in that little area
Oh, it looks fun.
of the ribbon. I will also go in, like in this area, like where the whiskers are at, I would probably use like a black thread, so that way I can highlight the little whiskers on the cat.
Oh, how fun.
I will also go around and outline around the outside of the cat, so that way it also will hold it down in place, so that way it won't come off on there.
That's a great idea.
And then I just leave it rough edge, because you're going to find that bonding is going to keep it in place. And for me, I will hand launder this, so it's not like I'm going to throw it in the wash machine.
Now, one of your pieces look three-dimensional, so did you actually put fabric on both sides and leave part of it lifted up or three-dimensional?
Oh, yes, I've done that with butterflies.
Oh, great
I've made
idea.
Butterflies, and I have put both fabrics on both sides, and then I have just stitched right down the
That's a
center.
great idea.
And then I've attached them. And I've done the same thing on my quilts, like baby quilts and like that. But it's just, I will do a lot of thread work on this.
Well, Nancy, thank you so much for showing us these great ideas, and I can't wait to try it myself.
Oh, great. It was a pleasure here to share this with you.
Today we have with us Mary Edwards. She's a very good friend of mine, and she's a longarm quilter, and she's making pillows with pet pictures on them. Hi, Mary.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here, Jane.
I've wanted to see this project. Can you tell us how it goes?
This is unique. I am a pet lover. I love dogs.
I know you have babysat some of my pets
I
for me.
have. Well, this is Marty, and I wanted to make a picture for a pillow for him. And first you need the photo, then you take fabric sheets, and you can run it through a colored copier or your inkjet printer.
Okay.
So you transfer the photo onto the material. And
He's
then-
got quite a look there.
Oh, doesn't he?
I know, look at that.
I mean, he looks so mischievous.
Yes, he does.
Then we go over here and we decide what fabrics to choose that make the dog really look cool.
You pick like 3 that are
Yes,
color
they're-
coordinated with the picture.
Yes. And then you take 1-inch strips and you frame around your photo.
Yes.
Oh, I did forget. You need to cut the photo, leaving a 1/4-inch seam all the way around.
So you know, have it
So-
nice and square to start with.
Right. Then you put your frame on. Then you add your 3/4-inch sides and top and bottom.
It's gonna be like 3 3/4 or
3 3/4,
Okay.
yes. And then we go over here and we will be putting the inset on. You fold it with wrong sides together, and then you sew them all the way around using an 1/8-inch seam.
Well, that's because it's like a little 3-dimensional thing. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's folded in
Yeah.
half like a little piece of bias tape or
Yes,
binding.
yeah. And it just adds a little bit of character
Yeah.
to it. And then you have your paw prints and your fonces, and then I like pre-panning mine, trust me. My dog puts paw prints on the floor. I want to know where they go. So I did this with Marty's name and the paw prints. Then you lay them over using a fabric marker. You write in the name. But for the paw prints, I like to add depth, so I use acrylic, 1 part acrylic paint and 1 part fabric medium. And you mix it up really good, and then
And you paint them in.
you get to paint them in.
It looks like good muddy little puppy paw.
Yeah, it
prints.
looks dimensional. Okay? And then, after you finish that, you go and you layer, you put your side borders on and your bottom and your top.
How wide is this one then?
This is 4 inches.
Okay.
Then you take a 20-inch backing.
Because we're going to end up with like an 18-inch pillow then.
Well, it'll be really a 19-inch, but it'll fit in 8 pillow. And then you're going to go and you're going to sew quilt around the outer frame.
Okay.
And then your outer border.
All right.
Then you're going to take the
Backing.
backing material, which will make an envelope for the
2
quilt.
pieces that are a little bit more than half of the pillow.
Correct.
And hem them, 1/4 inch over, and then
Yes.
over again. Just straight stitch that. Let's see if I can lay that out and they can see how much that's lapped.
Okay, it overlaps quite a bit at the top, but the sides are equal. Then what you'll do is you'll sew around them and then trim that top and bottom off. And then you're going to clip your corners so it makes it for a really good turn. And then you're going to have fun. You want to do that one for me? Here, I'm going to borrow this. Let's see, you probably do this a little bit.
I probably got fingernails that'll poke like that little poker.
Yeah. And then you take your corner turner and you have nice, I'm just going to do this.
Nice sharp corners.
And, okay. And then what you do is you make sure you press your seam so
get a
that
real
it's nice,
sharp
nice
edge.
square edge. Yeah. And then, as shown on the pillow, you go ahead and
Stitch 1/4 inch around.
all the way around. It gives it that binding look.
Oh,
And see, as well as do wall hanging.
that looks really sharp, Mary. Thank you so much for showing us these pet pillows.
I love today's show, but of course everyone knows I'm addicted to fabric painting.
And I love Diane's gallery, where she uses the paints and the thread.
That was amazing. So join us next time when we create a baby quilt and also learn how to fix problems like puckers.
I'm on Quilt Central.
Website at www.quiltcentraltv.com for more information on this program. Quilt Central is made possible in part by Janome America. Janome, because you simply love to sew. American Quilters Society, dedicated to promoting today's quilter. Sulky of America, makers of decorative threads, stabilizers, and books. Olfa, the original rotary cutting system. A1 Quilting Machine. American Professional Quilting Systems, APQS, offers a full line of hand-guided quilting machines. June Taylor's. Milliken & Company. The Warm Company. Additional funding was provided by these companies that care about quilting. Now you can celebrate quilting in your everyday living. To purchase videotapes of this or any episode of Quilt Central, you may call toll-free 1-866-PADUCA or 1-866-723-8224.